talk about the Cleveland Browns and everything that they have done so far this offseason, the same with the NFL draft mixed in with free agency, and why I do believe that the Cleveland Browns could cause some problems in the AFC North. And I'm not saying that the Cleveland Browns will go out there, they're going to make the NFL playoffs, they're going to go on a crazy playoff run with Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, or even Shedeur Sanders, but they're set up for this upcoming year to be a better team than they were last season. Hell, they only won 3 games last season. They beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, they beat the Steelers, and they beat the Ravens. 2 of those teams made the NFL playoffs, so you have to give them credit for something. Let's start this thing off by talking about Deshaun Watson here. Deshaun Watson days are numbered with the Cleveland Browns, and you could have said that last season when you look at Deshaun Watson. He only played 7 games. 5 passing touchdowns to 3 interceptions. He has been a terrible quarterback with this organization, on and off the field. I don't blame that on Andrew Berry, the general manager. I don't blame that on Kevin Stefanski. A lot of reports came out that ownership made the trade to bring in Deshaun Watson, and Haslam came out and he backed that up. He said that he was taking a huge swing at the time, and it was a huge miss, unfortunately, for the Cleveland Browns. This trade has held them back for the foreseeable future. They traded a lot of assets to go get Deshaun Watson, and it hasn't worked out. He's only played in 19 games out of 54 games qualified for. A lot of that is because of suspension, but also another part of that is because of the injuries that he has suffered. He will never be the same quarterback that he once was with the Houston Texans. And I do feel for Deshaun Watson, and I feel for any player. When you constantly get injured over and over again, it's that rehabbing process. But when you look at Deshaun Watson, all the reports that came out, he wasn't comfortable playing in the same system that Baker Mayfield was in. When you look at Baker Mayfield, when he had that one breakout season with Kevin Stefanski in his first year in that system, the Browns made the NFL playoffs. They beat the Steelers in a playoff game. Look at the offense that Baker Mayfield was in. Deshaun Watson is used to shotgun, and what he did with the Houston Texans, that is not what Kevin Stefanski is known to do. So he tried to go out there, he tried to change the system around, and it didn't work out. And when you look at Deshaun Watson, shoulder injury, missed the rest of the season. Torn Achilles, missed the rest of the season. They went back and they looked at his Achilles just for a regular checkup. He had to have yet another surgery on that Achilles. So we're looking at a player here. His body is betraying him. He doesn't have the same arm power that he once had with the Houston Texans, and the game has passed him by because of the amount of time that he has missed. Let's not forget, this man missed his last season with the Houston Texans entirely because he did not want to play with that organization, and he sat out. And that one trade has jacked up the quarterback market for everyone else. So when you look at Deshaun Watson after this upcoming year, they can cut him. They can get him off the books. If you cut him right now, it'll be one of the nastiest cap hits in NFL history. So just keep him around. And he's rehabbing anyway from that torn Achilles injury. If he goes to a different team, hey, good luck to Deshaun Watson. But his days with the Browns, they're over with. So they go into free agency and they sign Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco had to come in to help out the Cleveland Browns when Deshaun Watson hurt his shoulder against the Baltimore Ravens in the second half of that matchup, the best game that he's played with the Browns. And Joe Flacco was able to come in and he helped his organization make the NFL playoffs 2 years ago. And they did lose against the Houston Texans in the first round. But when you look at all the injuries that they had to deal with, offensive line injuries, both your starting tackles are out. Your starting running back, your star running back in Nick Chubb, he hurt his knee against the Steelers. He was out. You look at your defense, Grant Delpit, he was out as well. They had so many injuries, and yet they still made the playoffs. You could say that was just a lucky stint with the Browns, sure. But you still have to give Kevin Stefanski a lot of credit, and the same with Joe Flacco. Now look at Joe Flacco. He's not going to be your franchise quarterback for the next 5 to 10 years. When you look at Joe Flacco, the man is 40 years old. He got to play in a couple of games last year with the Indianapolis Colts. 12 passing touchdowns to 7 interceptions. But he has a leg up on everyone else in that quarterback room. Dylan Gabriel is a rookie. The same with Shedeur Sanders. Kenny Pickett, he got drafted by the Steelers. They traded him to the Philadelphia Eagles. And now he's with the Cleveland Browns. I don't see him going out there and beating out Joe Flacco either. Right now, I think Joe Flacco is a better quarterback than Kenny Pickett. And he knows his system. He's had a lot of success in this system, a bunch of play action bootlegs, get to your spots, go out there and sling the football around, and he still has a very good arm for his age. Is he going to go out there and have 3 passing touchdowns every single week? No. But Joe Flacco would do what the coach asks him to do, and he'll be a great locker room leader. He's won a Super Bowl in the past. So we know that Joe Flacco can have success in this system. But how long can he be successful? Because we know eventually it's going to cut off. Look at what happened towards the end of the regular season. He had a couple of hiccups with those interceptions, with those turnovers, and the same against the Houston Texans and that playoff game. But if Joe Flacco can give you good play for 5 to 7 weeks, that's more than good enough. That's more than what you've had with Deshaun Watson over the last few years, and the same with Jameis Winston. And look at how bad things got with Deshaun Watson last year before he went down with that torn Achilles injury. In those 7 games, they never scored over 20 points once. Jameis Winston comes in immediately. They score over 20 points, and they won that game over the Baltimore Ravens. And Jameis Winston is one of the most erratic quarterbacks that you can coach because of the turnovers. So I look at Joe Flacco. You can have success with him early on. Just run the football and get those wide receivers one-on-one and scheme them open, and that's something that Kevin Stefanski can do. Now, I know that I'm saying Deshaun Watson deserves a lot of blame, and he does. But I look at Kevin Stefanski, and I love him as a head coach. You guys know how I feel about him if you've listened to his channel over the last few years. I have to give him some criticism here. You're dealing with a bad quarterback. You're dealing with injuries on your defense and the same on the offensive end. You had the fifth least rushing attempts in all of football, but you had the most passing attempts in the NFL. That's a recipe for disaster. Now, Kevin Stefanski was not the main offensive play caller. He fired their offensive coordinator to bring in Tommy Rees. Now, Tommy Rees, a lot of people in NFL circles, they're saying that he's a bright offensive mind. We'll see if he can be a very good offensive coordinator or not. But we've seen this before in the past with Kevin Stefanski and his offensive game plans. Run this offense through your running backs, no matter who your quarterback is. Give your running backs the football. Jerome Ford is a solid running back to have. 565 rushing yards last season, 3 rushing touchdowns, average 5.4 yards a carry. Give him more carries. Give Dylan Sampson, he's a rookie. Give him some carries as well. You selected him with the 126th pick out of Tennessee. This man had 1,491 rushing yards his last year at Tennessee, 22 rushing touchdowns. Very good player. Run your offense through him. And you still have Jenkins. Now, as I record this video, he's dealing with a domestic violence case right now. He may be suspended. He may not. But when I look at him, that's the running back that I look at. Eventually, he's going to be the bell cow running back with this organization. When you look at Nick Chubb for so many years before he went down with those injuries, he was a bell cow with Cleveland. That's what Jenkins can be coming from Ohio State University. 179 forced missed tackles his last year. 14 rushing touchdowns, and he split the workload with Travion Henderson coming out of the backfield. So you have 3 very good running backs that you can run this offense through with a strong offensive line that is known for being elite in run blocking in the past. And you have good offensive line pieces up front with DeJuan Jones, who looked very good his rookie season until he went down with his injuries. You have Joe Bitonio, who's a veteran, left guard position. Wyatt Teller, right guard. Jack Conklin, right tackle. This is a solid offensive line that will help you out moving from sideline to sideline. You can pull some guards and you can get creative with the run game. And this is something that we've seen Kevin Stefanski do in the past with his offensive coordinators. But you have to take that stress off your quarterback. You can't have them go out there and have 35 pass attempts a game that is going to get you beat. And the same with the screen game. If you continue to throw screens over and over again, you play in a division with Trey Henderson, phenomenal pass rusher. The same with TJ Watt. Eventually, they're going to come off the edge. They're going to bat the ball up. It's going to either go for an interception or an incompletion. You're playing with fire. Use some more motion and get the run game going. That's when the Cleveland Browns are at their best. And that's when we saw Baker Mayfield thrive in this system, when he was able to work off of Nick Chubb in the past. Now look at the rest of the quarterbacks on this roster. Besides Deshaun Watson and the same with Joe Flacco, you have Shedeur Sanders. I'm a huge fan of Shedeur Sanders. There's a lot of reports to why he slid in the NFL draft. To me, he was the second best quarterback in this draft class next to Cam Ward. I had Cam Ward number 1, Shedeur Sanders number 2. Is he the most physically gifted quarterback in the world to have? No. But at the same time, I will say be careful with saying that. We've seen quarterbacks in the past, they have the size, they have the mobility, they have the arm, and they can't catch on in the NFL. Look at Jamarcus Russell. Look at Anthony Richardson right now. He's struggling immensely. But when I look at Shedeur Sanders, he has that elite accuracy. He does have an arm. It's not a strong arm, but it's good enough to get the football to where it needs to be, especially into certain areas of the field. He can thrive in the system. He just has to work hard and beat out Dillon Gabriel, because I do believe week 1, Joe Flacco should be the starter. But when I look at Shedeur Sanders, and the reason why this is so interesting to me, 74% of his passes were completed his last year at Colorado. 4,134 passing yards, 37 passing touchdowns to 10 interceptions. He did not have a consistent run game. He had terrible offensive line protection in back-to-back years with Colorado. He carried the offense on his back most weeks with Travis Hunter. Now, when I look at that completion percentage, is it 100% true? No, it's not. It was a bunch of quick game, a bunch of slants, a bunch of screens behind the line of scrimmage. And when they were able to work off of play action, he excelled with it. And we've seen certain situations to where he can extend the play behind the line of scrimmage, throw the football deep down the middle of the field. We've seen that with Shedeur Sanders. But he doesn't have the elite athleticism to run around and make plays like prime Aaron Rodgers, like Patrick Mahomes, the same with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. So he has to be careful when he does scramble around, because they're playing contained coverage. He may find himself into some trouble. And he does hold on to the football for a very long time coming over from Colorado. You work on those things with Shedeur Sanders, you will be fine. He could be a potential long-term starter for this organization. And I know that you may laugh, because whenever young quarterbacks come to Cleveland, their careers, they die. Let's just call it for what it is. But this is a different situation, because you have Kevin Stefanski, who is a very good head coach, and he will be patient enough with both of these quarterbacks and Dillon Gabriel, and the same with Shedeur Sanders. Even though I'm a big Shedeur Sanders fan, he should not be starting week 1. It should be Joe Flacco. Now, Dillon Gabriel, on the other hand, you look at Dillon Gabriel coming over from Oregon, a stacked team, where he did have a consistent run game. He did have a very good offensive line. He did have good pieces on the outside. The arm power is not elite. It's far from it. If you think Shedeur Sanders has a weak arm, Dillon Gabriel, his arm is weaker. In order for him to throw the deep ball, he has to put his entire body into it. He is a bit undersized, so he's not going to see the middle of the field as much as Shedeur Sanders. And the reason why they selected both of these quarterbacks late in the NFL draft, the owner set him up. Like I mentioned before, when your owner is meddling over and over again and he pushes out a quarterback that doesn't work out for you, that sets you back a ton. It's not like you just trade a first-round pick to bring in a wide receiver. It doesn't work out. Hey, we can draft another wide receiver in the second or third round. This has had huge implications with everyone involved, from the general manager to the head coach and the rest of the players as well on this roster. It's not fair to them that they trade those picks to get Deshaun Watson. So now you're just scrambling around. You're trying to find your franchise quarterback as soon as possible. Maybe it's Shedeur Sanders. Maybe it's Dillon Gabriel. Hopefully it's one of them, because if one of those guys can go out there that can give you enough for this upcoming season and you look good with them, you win between 5 to 8 games, you may be cooking with something here. Let's not forget you have 2 first-round picks in next year's draft class, because you traded down in the first round with the Jacksonville Jaguars, so the Jaguars could select Travis Hunter, and the Browns went with Mason Graham. More on him in a second when I talk about the defensive side of the ball. But Cleveland, this offense, they're going to be better without Deshaun Watson. And I can see them going out there and possibly winning 5 to 8 games with no matter who the quarterback is. And I look at Kenny Pickett. I was a big Kenny Pickett fan coming out of Pitt. I'm not going to run away from it. You guys can hold me accountable. I'll hold myself accountable for it. The problem with Kenny Pickett is this. You went to the Steelers. You had Matt Canada as your offensive coordinator. Terrible coaching. But you did have talent around you. He wasn't able to make the most out of that talent. They traded him to the Philadelphia Eagles because he did not like the competition with Russell Wilson. They shipped him out to the Eagles. The Eagles were sick of him, and they said, hey, the arm power's not good enough, and let's just be honest, he's not particularly good. When Jalen Hurts went down with that concussion, they saw up close and personal, this man is going to be our backup quarterback long term. Let's trade him to the Browns. We can get DTR. And DTR is not a very good backup quarterback either. So I look at Kenny Pickett, he's the odd man out. You're not going to cut Dillon Gabriel. You're not going to cut Shedeur Sanders. And you're for sure not going to cut Joe Flacco. And I don't see the Cleveland Browns going out there and rolling out with 4 quarterbacks in the regular season. So I believe Kenny Pickett is the odd man out. The depth chart should be Joe Flacco, and either the backup quarterback should be Shedeur Sanders or Dillon Gabriel. But there's a lot of upside with Shedeur Sanders. And if it doesn't work out, he was a 5th-round pick anyway. That's how I look at it. And you can select a quarterback in next year's draft class. And I want everyone to be careful with this. in the national media and a lot of content creators, they'll say, hey, it's a better quarterback class next year. Just be careful. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm not saying that they're all the way right either. A lot of people came out and they said the 2021 draft class was going to be amazing at the quarterback position. We had Trevor Lawrence, who has not been a superstar in the NFL. Zach Wilson, a bust. Trey Lance, a bust. Mac Jones, a bust as well. So just be careful with that. When you look at the potential quarterbacks that can enter in next year's draft class, Lenore Sellers, I think that he can be a very good player. He has to play another year in college. The same with Kay Klubnik from Clemson, has to play another year in college. Arch Manning, I doubt that he comes out after just starting 1 year in Texas. Give these quarterbacks time. Don't put all that pressure on them just yet. And the same with Drew Aller coming over from Penn State. All those quarterbacks right now, I'm going to give them a lot of grace because they're still in college. But it's a lot of things that they have to all work on right now. So I look at the Browns from this standpoint, work with what you have and see what you have. If Dylan Gabriel is better than Shedeur Sanders, give him the job. Let him be the backup quarterback to Joe Flacco. If Shedeur Sanders is better than Dylan Gabriel, vice versa. Go out there, give him the job. And you see what sticks. If it doesn't work out, you draft a quarterback next year. Hats off to him. As far as the wide receivers here, Jerry Jeudy was the lone bright spot last year on this roster on the offensive end. This man came over from the Denver Broncos and quarterback hell for many years. Had 90 receptions, 1,229 receiving yards, 4 receiving touchdowns, averaged 14 yards a catch. In the past, he dealt with a lot of drops with the Broncos. Comes over to the Browns, a couple of drops. But as the season progressed, he got better and better, especially with Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston got the most out of him. We didn't see him going out there and having this big-time production with Deshaun Watson, and especially that game against the Denver Broncos. And when you look at Jerry Jeudy, let's not forget he went to Alabama for a reason. This man went in the first round with CeeDee Lamb. He's an amazing route runner. Very good wide receiver. I'm not ready to say he's a true number one just yet, but if he can be consistent, he can be a very good number one wide receiver long term with the Cleveland Browns. And that's why you made that trade. Now, outside of Jerry Jeudy, it's a lot of question marks here at the wide receiving position. Deontay Johnson. I like Deontay Johnson. Had a lot of good seasons. Was very productive with the Steelers for a couple of years there. Dealing with terrible quarterback play with Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett, still found a way to go out there and be productive. But it's his attitude. Look at what happened with the Baltimore Ravens. He did not check back into the game because he said it was too cold. Now, to take up for Deontay Johnson here, this is what got lost in translation. He said that he was cold. He did not get enough receptions to get going in that matchup, and they just wanted him to check in and go. Regardless, it's a bad look. Even as a Deontay Johnson fan, he needs to be better with his attitude. And the same thing happened against the Houston Texans. He's complaining in the locker room. They win a playoff game. He's over there upset. Why am I not getting targeted? You got to let your ego go. You're on your last leg right now with the Cleveland Browns. Go out there, keep your mouth shut, take the receptions that Kevin Stefanski and the quarterback gives you, be quiet, and make the most out of those opportunities. But he can be a very good wide receiver in this system. Cedric Tillman, very good player. They just need to give him more receptions. That's it. And he's a young player. I love him as a deep threat. 339 receiving yards, 3 receiving touchdowns. Has solid speed. Like him a lot. David Njoku is the number 2 target with this roster next to Jerry Jeudy. Only had 505 receiving yards last year, 5 receiving touchdowns. But he had a great year with Joe Flacco when he came in on the back half of that season. He was injured last year, dealing with some injuries. And you drafted a very good tight end in Harold Fanning Jr. from Bowling Green. 10 receiving touchdowns, 1,555 receiving yards. We'll see if he'll be a true traditional tight end at this level. At Bowling Green, they put the man at fullback. He was running routes out of the backfield. They had him lined up at running back as well, just running routes out of the backfield. We'll see if he's going to be that traditional tight end. But a 2 tight end set with him and David Njoku, that can work out. But I look at the Cleveland Browns. I like what they have on the offensive end. Way more this year than they had last year. Just comes down to the quarterback position. I'm rooting for every quarterback in that room. It's time for Cleveland to have a franchise quarterback. In my lifetime, I've never seen the Cleveland Browns have a consistent quarterback from year to year. Baker Mayfield may be the only one, and we saw how that tenure ended. And look at the hell they put Baker Mayfield through. This is a broken organization because of ownership. They had Hugh Jackson coaching this man his rookie season. Then they hired Freddie Kitchens. So Kevin Stefanski has been one of the best head coaches that I've seen for the Cleveland Browns in a very long time. He's not the problem here. Ownership is. Now, when I turn over to the defense, remember when I said they traded that pick with the Jacksonville Jaguars, you get an extra first-round pick next year and you select Mason Graham. I think that Mason Graham's going to have a terrific impact on this defense in terms of going out there and stopping the run in the middle of this defense and getting to the quarterback on a consistent basis. And he's playing alongside one of the best players in football, not just one of the best defensive players, one of the best players in general in Myles Garrett. So I look at Mason Graham. He was a huge disruptor at Michigan. He was the best player on Michigan last season. He's a phenomenal football player. Now, I understand he's a rookie. It's going to be a learning curve here, but he can eat up double teams. He can get to the running back. He can get to the passer. He can have a huge impact with Cleveland moving forward. And we're talking about a team that already had the third best pass rushing win rate last season with Myles Garrett. So Mason Graham should fit in very nicely with Malik Collins. And when I look at Myles Garrett, like I mentioned before, great player, 14 sacks last year, 3 forced fumbles. I don't want to hear anything about Myles Garrett never winning a ring in his career, never contending for a Super Bowl in his career. When Super Bowl week launched, that Monday, when Cooper Kupp came out, he said, hey, the Rams are looking to trade me. Just 20 minutes later, Myles Garrett comes out. He requests a trade. He wants to be traded from the Cleveland Browns. He wants to go to a contender. I don't blame him. The Cleveland Browns sat with him. Andrew Berry said, hey, we're not trading you. You still have a couple more years left on your deal. We're going to make you stick it out. Or we can give you more money right now, and you can be a Cleveland Brown for life. That's the case with Myles Garrett. They're never going to trade him. He's going to be a Cleveland Brown for life. So if he comes out, he's upset, he's disgruntled with the franchise, look at the money in your bank account. He chose the money, and rightfully so on his end. I'm not mad at him. He's the highest paid edge rusher in football, rightfully so. But I just want you guys to think about that. So when we get down the line and we say, man, we feel bad for Myles Garrett, he had his chance to leave. He could have just played out the rest of the contract and then he could have moved on, but he wanted to stay with Cleveland, stay with the money. Hey, rooting for him. But Myles Garrett, he's still around. But this defense had a huge problem last year. In their first season with Jim Schwartz, they had a top defense in general with the Baltimore Ravens. Let's not forget when Kevin Stefanski hired Joe Woods, he was a terrible DC. They brought in Jim Schwartz. They were playing that press man coverage. They were getting to the passer over and over again. They had a phenomenal defensive run. They ran into some problems last season with that man coverage. You see, when your quarterback is constantly going 3 and out, or he's having turnover issues like Jameis Winston, your defense has to be on the field even more. And Jim Schwartz has done this before in the past with the Philadelphia Eagles and the same with the Detroit Lions, to where he goes out there and he continues to play that man coverage. And eventually you're going to get beat by top wide receivers, especially this generation of wide receivers in football. Martin Emerson Jr. in the past has been a very good cover corner. Outside of Cleveland, you may say, hey, he's still a top cover corner. Cleveland Brown fans know he had a down year last year. Listen to these numbers. He allowed 59 catches for 713 receiving yards, 5 receiving touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He also averaged 15 yards a catch when he was giving up those yards to those wide receivers. That is not good. Now, Jim Schwartz needs to do a better job in terms of just going out there and playing better defensive looks instead of playing that cover 1 man over and over again, playing that cover 2 man. Just so much man with this roster. And I understand you have Denzel Ward, you have Martin Emerson Jr., you have Greg Newsome. On paper, that's a very good trio. But even Superman can be beat. Stop running man coverage. Go out there and run cover 3. Run some cover 4. Help out your defense. And when you're running the man coverage so much, you miss a tackle on man. The next thing you know, that running back has so much cushion now to bounce it to the outside or to just go out there and just get those free yards over and over again, especially if it's a motion play. That's one thing that happened against the Cleveland Browns. When you play that zone coverage and when you're going against running backs and you're going against scrambling quarterbacks, your face is towards the quarterback. When you play that man coverage, your back is towards that quarterback now. So when you go against scrambling quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jordan Love, guys that can extend the play, you're at their mercy. Even though you have a very good pass rush with Myles Garrett and the same with Mason Graham this upcoming year, you need to stop playing so much man coverage. Mix in some zone and switch things up. And I still like Jim Schwartz as the defensive coordinator. But based off of his history, when he has one down year, it continues to get worse. Hopefully that's not the case here with Cleveland. And I still like him as a DC. Denzel Ward is still phenomenal as a cornerback. Greg Newsome, he's still good as well. Grant Delpit, he's solid. Definitely not the same safety that he was before he tore his Achilles, but he's still a very good player in certain situations. Linebacker position, this one really hurts. I'm a huge fan of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I'll never forget the breakout game that he had against the San Francisco 49ers. That was a matchup where Deebo Samuel was out, George Kittle went down, and the same Christian McCaffrey. But before all those players went down, you look at JOK, he's flying all over the field. He's going to come in with a high motor every single week and every single down. I've seen the Cleveland Browns be down by 30 points. He's still flying around, giving you his all. Unfortunately, it caught up to him. They went against the Baltimore Ravens. He went heads up with Derrick Henry, and he stopped Derrick Henry. But his next snapback, he's going to miss significant time. Hopefully, he gets to play with the Cleveland Browns again because I love him as a player. That's why they had to draft Carson Schlesinger with the 33rd pick. 136 tackles his last year at UCLA, 4 sacks in general, 1 forced fumble, 2 interceptions. Very good linebacker. He's basically JOK 2.0. But it took some time for JOK to get at that level. Carson Schlesinger will be a very good linebacker, but hopefully JOK can come back sooner than later because a linebacking tandem with Carson and JOK, that's a very good linebacking duo in my books. But even without Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, you still have talent there. Isaiah McGuire, he's a solid guy to have off the edge. We've seen him flip his hips, go back into coverage at times, but I like him coming off the edge and just tackling running backs in space. You look at Jordan Hicks. He's a veteran that you have on this roster. He's not going to be a huge difference maker. You're hoping that Carson can be that long term. And you still have Devin Bush hanging around. He's a former Steeler, drafted in the first round, had a very good career at Michigan, had a very good rookie season. Towards ACL, was never the same player. So the linebacking core without JOK, they have some flaws there. But Carson Schlesinger, even as a rookie, he should be able to come in and solve some of those needs immediately. But I look at the Browns. They're going to cause some problems in the AFC North. They're not a playoff team. I have them winning between 5 to 8 games this upcoming year. But I look at them against the Steelers. They match up very well. They match up very well against the Ravens and the same with the Cincinnati Bengals. For whatever reason, they always match up very well with the Bengals. I don't know why. Maybe it's because Myles Garrett can just get to the quarterback over and over again, and they can play that press man coverage against Jamar Chase, and the same with T. Higgins. But the Cleveland Browns always find a way to go out there and make life stressful for the Cincinnati Bengals, and the same with the Steelers in the past. But let me know in the comment section below who should be the starting quarterback with the Cleveland Browns towards the end of the season. And how do you think they'll fare in the 2025 season? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.